Saints Row Reboot information, release date, pre-order, and everything you need to know. At Gamescom 2021, Deep Silver Volition surprised everybody by being first out of the gate at opening night live. After nearly a decade, the team was ready to announce the next mainline Saints Row game, just called Saints Row. However, unlike previous entries that continued to ramp up the absurdity and continue the story of the 3rd Street Saints, this reboot features a new story and characters. While the decision might be controversial, it doesn't represent an entirely new vision for the series but rather a slightly different direction. While we got plenty of information about the reboot from Gamescom, we still don't know a lot yet. For now, here's everything we know about the Saints Row Reboot 2022. The Saints Row Reboot takes place in the fictional city of Santo Ileso, which from trailers, looks like a combination of Las Vegas, Reno, and other parts of Southern California. It features 9 playable districts that each have their own distinct feel. For example, one looks like the Vegas Strip, but others look more suburban while even more look like mostly desert. Publisher Deep Silver and developer Volition have released a new trailer for Saints Row 2022, dubbed The Districts of Santo Ileso. The trailer introduces the various districts and locations in Santo Ileso. According to the video description, the game will feature a drop-in drop-out co-op, a vast variety of guns, and a map that focuses on the southwest desert of the US. It also says players can build your criminal empire, take over the city block by block, wage war against enemy factions and tighten your grip on the streets with ingenious criminal ventures. Saints Row is a long-running video game series that tasks you as a member of a gang called the 3rd Street Saints with building up a criminal empire in an open-world environment. While the plots, the design, and the scope may differ, the general idea is the same. Though the series initially started as a Grand Theft Auto clone developed by Volition, now called Deep Silver Volition, with most of the missions involving driving and shooting, the 3rd and 4th games differentiated themselves with cartoonish, over-the-top design and gameplay. The first 2 games involve standard gang stories, with the second having you bring the Saints back together after they disbanded. The 3rd involves the Saints contending with a criminal conglomerate called the Syndicate, and the 4th traps them inside a simulation run by aliens and gives them superpowers. You can then work up to being the President of the United States. As you can see, the series has gone through a lot since its debut in 2006. The last mainline game was Saints Row 4 in 2013, with the expansion Gates Out of Hell released in 2015. The studio also worked on Agents of Mayhem, which was released in 2017, which is now dead by the way. It takes place in the Saints Row universe but is unconnected to the story of the 4 main games. A massive chase ensues, with death-defying stunts, heavy weapons, and gravity-defying jumps. The trailer wraps up with an explosive finish. Thankfully, more details about the story and character were explained outside this trailer. For example, the new setting will have 9 distinct districts, each run by rival gangs, and will be the largest map the series has ever seen yet. You will play as your own character, again just going by the moniker of the boss, and have 3 companions at the beginning, Eli, Nina, and Kevin. Each one suits a different role depending on their personality. Eli is your techie nerd who runs the finances, Nina, a former member of rival gang Los Panteros, is the driver and mechanic, and Kevin is the adrenaline junkie who was kicked out of the Idols. If you were looking forward to seeing old faces again, such as Johnny Gat or Kenzie, well, you'll be disappointed to learn that this reboot is completely divorced from that original Saints Row game in terms of returning characters. Aside from some Easter eggs, Volition has made it clear that this is a completely new game with no ties to the old franchise. Certain games were so influential that they almost single-handedly created entire genres. The most successful of them, like Grand Theft Auto, would almost immediately attract other developers to try and compete with them in the hot new space. Saints Row was just that, an attempt to take on GTA in the realistic, crime-focused open-world adventure game. The original was viewed as mostly fine but didn't really do anything to set it apart as more than a slightly worse version of GTA in most people's eyes. It was good enough to spawn a sequel, and after that things got a little weird. Saints Row 3 and Saints Row 4 pivoted the series from being a straight imitation of GTA and embraced the more ludicrous and comedic aspects of gaming. By the time the fourth game came around, your gangster character had become president, the world was invaded by aliens, and you were placed in a simulated world where you had superpowers. These last two games were by far the most well-received and popular of the series, but we have never heard from the Saints since. Teased and revealed at Gamescom 2021, a rebooted Saints Row game was fully unveiled. With a series that has such a clear split in terms of tone, gameplay, and style, many were left wondering what direction this game would take. The announcement trailer begins by showing off the new location where the Saints Row reboot will take place in. The American southwestern city of Santo Ileso is shown off as being a mixture of wide-open desert plains, neon cities, and graffiti-laden neighborhoods. A few new characters coordinate a heist to rob a weapons deal of some kind from a rival gang. Things seem to be very grounded, until one character pulls on a motorcycle helmet with pink cat ears and lights that form a face across the face mask. He has no shirt on and revs up his motorcycle. While he distracts them with some witty dialogue, his partners hop in the car while they're distracted and peel off. A massive chase ensues, with death-defying stunts, heavy weapons, and gravity-defying jumps. The trailer wraps up with an explosive finish. Thankfully, more details about the story and character were explained outside this trailer. For example, the new setting will have 9 distinct districts, each run by rival gangs, and will be the largest map the series has ever seen yet. You will play as your own character, again just going by the moniker of the boss, and have 3 companions at the beginning, Eli, Nina, and Kevin. Each one suits a different role depending on their personality. Eli is your techie nerd who runs the finances, Nina, a former member of rival gang Los Panteros, is the driver and mechanic, and Kevin is the adrenaline junkie who was kicked out of the Idols. If you were looking forward to seeing old faces again, such as Johnny Gat or Kenzie, well, you'll be disappointed to learn that this reboot is completely divorced from that original Saints Row game in terms of returning characters. Aside from some Easter eggs, Volition has made it clear that this is a completely new game with no ties to the old franchise. Your boss character will be completely customizable, as they have been in previous games. The team has said this character creator is their biggest feature, with 8 voice options, plus the ability to customize your weapons and vehicles in addition to your character and crew. In terms of the rival gangs, the 3 groups the Saints will be up against are the Marshals, Panteros, and the Idols. Marshall is described as a well-funded, high-tech defense organization, while the Panteros are more brutish and physical, and the Idols are wildcard punk types dressed in neon colors seeking fame. This will be another open-world, third-person shooter, which shouldn't come as any real surprise. Gameplay is going to still have some of the old-school arcade style, with XP and leveling up returning as mechanics to level up your character and unlock skills and perks. While they didn't say what specifically, Volition has said that, aside from traditional firearms and melee weapons, fans can expect some more over-the-top weapons. The 9 districts mentioned earlier will be taken over one by one as you get stronger and grow the Saints up. Turf Wars, which were introduced in Saints Row 2, are also coming back. These events are where you take on rival gangs for control of an area of the map. Areas you take over can be used to set up new bases, and you can also purchase other properties for different purposes. A few examples mentioned were using food trucks as drug runners, arms dealerships, car shops, fighting academies, and even hospitals. A developer described this system as, quote, "You're building criminal ventures, and each criminal venture is unlocking its own custom gameplay with it. And that's in addition to all the other stuff you can do out in the world." Quote. Minigames and activities became a major part of the Saints Row series, and so far, we know of one fan favorite making a comeback, insurance fraud. More will be coming, but for now, this is the only one confirmed. Traversal is very important in an open-world game, and there are a lot of options in Saints Row Reboot. Aside from hoofing it around on foot, you will have access to fully customizable cars, which can be modified to be off-road ready, plus bikes, planes, helicopters, go-karts, and even hoverbikes and hoverboards. You can even wingsuit off the top of buildings. Fast travel is still an option as another way to zip across the map. Co-op has always been included in Saints Row, and we are more than pleased to have it back in the reboot. The type of wild, sandbox worlds that the series is set in just make for the perfect playground for you and your friends to create dynamic fun. This time around, Saints Row Reboot will allow you and up to 3 friends to play cooperatively together in Santo Ileso, either messing around in the open world or playing through the entire campaign. Co-op will be completely unrestricted, allow for drop-in, drop-out at any point, and is cross-generational. Volition has committed to creating at least 3 pieces of DLC for the Saints Row Reboot, once the game launches. This information comes from details listed in the expansion pass. However, there are no further details about what type of DLC this will be aside from the fact that they're called episodes, which we feel implies story DLC. Perhaps they each focus on one of the initial gang members, fleshing out their backstories. We'll have to wait and see for sure. With the release date set, pre-orders went live right as the game was announced for all platforms. You can get either a physical or digital pre-order in one of 3 editions: Standard, Criminal Customs, and the Notorious Edition. However, pre-ordering digitally has 2 separate versions above Standard, those being Gold and Platinum editions. First, the Standard editions. This version is the most basic. You get the game on the platform of your choice, plus a pre-order bonus called the Idols Anarchy Pack. The interesting part is that both previous and next-gen versions are listed at $60, meaning it looks like this series isn't following the new $70 standard for next-gen releases. Second is the Criminal Customs editions. This is the next tier up for physical editions, which is also listed as $60, which makes sense since it only has 1 additional pre-order bonus over the standard version. That extra bit of content is called the Saints Criminal Customs. Third is the Notorious Edition. The most expensive physical version is the Notorious Edition, which is cost $90. As you expect, you get everything in the other versions along with some bonus content called the Los Panteros American Muscle Bundle, the Expansion Pass, and a steel book and physical items that look like some pictures, a poster, character cards, and postcards. Now looking at the digital editions, the Gold Edition has everything in the Standard Edition, the Los Panteros American Muscle Bundle, and the Expansion Pass. This one will cost the same as the Notorious Edition at $90. Last up, the Platinum Edition comes with everything previously mentioned and tacks on one last thing: Saints Row the 3rd Remastered. Yup, the entire game. If you want to relive that game in its remastered glory, be prepared to drop $100 on this version. This means the reboot won't have to adhere to any of the story elements of previous entries, and can instead stand on its own. That doesn't mean it won't still feel like Saints Row. One of the main takeaways is that Saints Row will be significantly more grounded than the more recent entries. That doesn't mean there won't still be silliness, but many of the wacky elements of previous installments won't be present in the reboot. This will give the series a fresh start, separating it from the rest of the games. The Saints Row Reboot is going to release on PlayStation 5, PlayStation 4, PC, Epic Games Store, Xbox One, and Xbox Series on February 25, 2022. The game's expansion pass has been confirmed to include 3 additional game expansions that'll come after the game's release. The expansion pass has also been confirmed to be bundled with Saints Row Gold Edition. So what's your thoughts on the Saints Row Reboot? Leave a like and comment below what you want in this new game. As always, thank you for watching. Peace out. Be sure to subscribe for future contents.